Shalom, all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, sincere Akim, holding fast to faith and being occupied in prophecy. This is Debak of Great Millstone Playing Tables, also known as Great Millstone Philadelphia. And the topic I want to get into is patience. And the reason for this topic is, as the apostles and elders would say, when individuals first come into this truth, and even following a couple of years being into the truth, they don't really understand what it is that they get into. They don't understand the different qualities and traits, character traits you need to build when in this truth, which is all a part of your foundation. And one of the most important ones I have personally found, and I'm still, young in the faith, just coming on 8 years, is you need to have patience. And to start the lesson off, I have this definition here for the word patience, so you get a better understanding of exactly what it means to be patient. So as you can see on screen, Google gives the definition for patience as the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. And that's a big thing amongst Jake in general, in the world, amongst women, our children, if we have children, which I personally don't have any children. But they don't have the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. If something takes longer than what they want, they act very impulsively, very emotionally, and, their spirits get broken, and they either throw a fit, an unnecessary fit of rage, or, try to find retribution, go out and try to, justify themselves in taking certain unnecessary actions just to feel some type of satisfaction. And that's just the selfishness that is within them. And when you come into this truth, you got to lose that mindset, because none of this is about us. When it comes down to it, it's all about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And the very fact that we've been called to do this work is actually for the sake of the elect. And that's in 2 Timothy 2:10, that Paul wrote to Timothy saying that he endures all things, meaning he suffers, because that word endure also links back to the word suffer. So Paul was saying to Timothy, look, I suffer all things for the sake of the elect. And that's the same spirit you got to be in when you're called to do this work. All the suffering you may go through, and it may be a daily trial, might be shit that you deal with at work, might be the shit that you got to deal with when you're dealing with your woman, and then it might be times or periods where Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai just afflicts you, man, okay? Just literally sends what the scriptures call a fiery trial upon you to try you. And Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is ultimately about testing our loyalty to this faith. The scriptures talk about every idle word men shall give an account for. And I noticed that when I was, young in the faith, and even now to this day, when I used to preach certain things that I necessarily didn't have the understanding of course, being a mockingbird, I still had to go through different experiences. I would say things, whether it be about a woman or whether it be about, whatever the case, I don't have to list a billion examples, but the point is that when I would say those things, the Most High would literally turn around and then try me with those very same words that came out of my mouth. Okay, you said that this is what you need to do, and you did bring out the proper scriptures to prove it. Now let's see how you act under that same pressure, and if you're willing to accept that same spiritual advice in the scriptures. And it would happen every single time, and that's how I knew it would be the Spirit. The Most High's trying me. But people don't, you Israelites, okay, for the ones to whom it may apply, don't understand that when you come into this truth, you're suffering for righteousness' sake. Because whether you believe it or not, when you were in the world, you were suffering. Okay? You were suffering. You were suffering for wickedness' sake. So when you come into this truth, the suffering changes into suffering rightly. Meaning you get yourself right, and then the Most High takes you through certain levels of tests. Okay, certain levels of test. Each one grows, and advances the more you grow in the faith, of course. You know, the Most High challenges you on different levels to build your character, to build strength, okay? So that you can endure all things to the very end. See, the Most High is making us precious and acceptable. So, again, I'm just going to read this definition and get into the scriptures. It says, the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Now, I would not pay attention to that last part, or rather refine it by saying this. We are in slavery. We are in captivity. You know, so-called white man is still ruling. You know, we still got these jobs that we got to go to that we absolutely hate. You know, we got women that we deal with, you know, and we got to deal with their nonsense. Even if we do have a care for her, you know, at the end of the day, you know, she's not that pillar of rest, you know, which pains you because you got to deal with all kinds of manner of evil coming from her. You know, your children might not be in order the way that you would expect, or whatever the case may be. And so that does make you angry. That does make you frustrated. That does make you sorrowful. Shit, it sometimes might even bring tears to your eyes, man, because you realize how fucked up things are. You know? And the key is not to act impulsively on those emotions that are, you know, you're going to have the emotions attached to certain situations, or to all situations. There will be an emotion associated with it. But it's how you act when under pressure, under stress, under anxiety, under depression, and so on and so forth. You know, are you going to be impulsively? You're going to filter all those things through the scriptures, and that's the point of this lesson. Everything should be filtered. But because guys lack the understanding of what they're getting into when they come into this truth, they lack the ability to understand that they're going to suffer, but it's to build character. They lose patience, and rather suffer for righteousness' sake, they'd rather go back and live a complacent lifestyle in the world and go ahead and suffer for wickedness' sake. Which, if you're suffering for wickedness' sake, you're ultimately going to be destroyed. And Most High is going to continue to make you suffer your everyday sufferings as an average day Israelite in the world, in this captivity, without any understanding, eventually just to destroy you. Okay, but for those of us that endure until the end and are willing to suffer, have the capacity and have the quality and tolerance for suffering, Lord willing, if we're a part of the elect, we're going to get delivered the hell up out of here. Be protected against all the persecutions and the famine and the martial law, right down to the hour of temptation. See, it's called the hour of temptation for a reason. You know, when you're tempted, you know, your patience is tempted. You know, meaning you are suffering. And a true individual's character comes out when their patience is being tested. Okay? And that's pursuant to the scriptures. In your patience possess ye your souls. Okay? So this whole thing is about suffering, and that's the point. Okay? You need to have a geared mindset, okay, to understand that you will suffer, but it's really to build you up. Okay? So without further ado, I got scripture right here. I'm gonna just go right to some of the scriptures that I quoted. Slakia. This is Luke 21 and 19. It says, in your patience possess ye your souls. Right? Like I just quoted, you know. So the whole thing is we're going to suffer. Now the word there in the Greek is hupomeneo, which means steadfastness, okay, which I just did a lesson on being steadfast, meaning being firm or immovable, constancy, endurance. Okay, so patience and endurance, you know, they're similar words, and they all go back to the word suffering. Okay, so under A of this definition, of the third definition, it says, in the New Testament, the characteristic of a man who is not swerved from his deliberate purpose. Right, and our deliberate purpose is to walk faithfully and loyally in this truth, go carry our crosses, our daily crosses, endure the fiery trials that will come upon us, right? And to be loyal, you know, not to lose hope, not to lose faith, not to lose patience, not to get upset of everything that goes wrong, because things are going to go wrong. Things aren't going to always work out the way you want. But again, like I said earlier, this thing isn't about us any damn way. This is all about serving Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay? And when you go into the etymology of the word patience, it literally means to be submissive. Okay? So you got to learn to submit to whatever chastisement Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai may bring upon us, and realize it's for our betterment. Okay? Like if you have a son or a daughter, and you know, you will give them the proper amount of correction as you see fit to save them from death, right? To make sure that they have a full understanding of what it means to, you know, do the right thing, right? So you might have to punish them, chastise them, you know, smack their ass, or crown them, whatever you got to do. You know, that's a form of chastisement so that they learn the error of their ways, okay, and do better and be better. That's the Most High dealing with the same way the Most High deals with us, is so that we can be better, have a stronger mindset, have a stronger and more fervent spirit. It says, and his loyalty to faith and piety by even the greatest trials and sufferings. So there it is, man. I said that the character of a man is really comes out when he's being tested. The true character of a man is really shown when he's going through some type of suffering, man. It says patiently and steadfastly, a patient, steadfast, waiting for. And that's the thing. Another thing that, you know, we got to be patiently, okay, enduring and waiting for is the return of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. And most men have decided to rather live in a world where Esau's still ruling and try to live a comfortable lifestyle, man, which is complete contradictory to the scriptures. Is it not written, arise ye, depart, for this is not your rest? Why would you be trying to build yourself up in a kingdom that is getting ready to fall any damn way? Not to mention the so-called white man, who is the devil, who is our enemy, is still ruling, man. Putting all kinds of hell on us. We ain't making no real money out here. We don't got no real women out here. Hell, we don't even got no real children out here, man. So we're patiently awaiting Yahweh Shai to come back and make everything right again. All right? Just like we're going to have to learn what it really means to suffer during the famines and the pestilence and the plagues that the Lord's going to send upon this place before the destruction, before the fire. All right? So the next scripture is going to be James chapter 1. And I'm going to start at 2. It says, my brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations. Yeah, the word diverse meaning many. Okay, temptations. So let's get the word temptation. It means proving the trial made of you by my bodily condition. An experiment, attempt, trial, proving. And when you go through any type of trial, what's really being done is you're being tested. You're being proven what your worth is in this truth. If you're the kind of individual who every time something bad happens to him, you get frustrated, you want to fucking punch something, and, you know, you want to choke slam every Edomite you see, and, you know, you just fucking always, you know, enraged. You know, you can't rule yourself by rage, man. We all understand that we're in hell. You know, be ye angry and sin not. Okay, the key there is to sin not, to go above your means and start trying to establish your own justice. Right? The trial of man's fidelity, integrity, virtue. Okay? So the Most High is proving us through different tests and the different scourges he may send upon us to try us, to test us. Okay? And that's a beautiful thing. You know, we got to prove our worth in this thing. We have to prove ourselves worthy to be accepted. And then have the hope and faith that Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai will make us worthy to be accepted by him. So we can be received as sons. And that's, as a matter of fact, when I finish this, I'm going to go to that next scripture. So this is James chapter 1, verse 2. My brethren, count it all joy when ye fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. Okay? So this is what's going to establish to be even stronger in this truth, even stronger in this faith. You know, in the very beginning of this, you know, you're willing to give things up, you know, because you know that those are the things that you need to do. And so you suffer that, you know, and some of those sufferings, you know, aren't really hard for you, you know. For most brothers, you know, giving certain women up, giving up particular lifestyles, you know, these are all things that you may need to do, okay? Of course, you have to always give up whatever lifestyle you were living, you know, according to the world before you came into the truth. But the point is, most of those things that we had to give up in the very, very beginning to learn this truth, to abide in this truth, it was easy. But then what ends up happening is it gets harder, okay? Because what happens is Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai tests your faith. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, and it's to build you up. So for any Akim that's going through hell, this is why. Because that the trying of your faith worketh patience, is to build up your character and build up the man on whom you will be in this faith. Okay? It says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, meaning whole, and wanting nothing. And that's the truth. When you go through these sufferings, man, at the end of it all, and I'm going to get into the scripture, you know, when you're being grieved, you're being scourged, man, you're like, damn, man, what the hell? Why is this happening? Like, you know, everything was good. Now all of a sudden everything's all fucked up. You know, you got to put off that mortal thought, man. Because Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai knows us best and knows exactly what we need to be stronger in this truth, man. We don't know that. Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai knows it, because what we think we know and what Yahweh Shai actually knows, what Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai knows, okay, are two different things. What Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai knows about us is concrete and absolute. Remember, the heart is deceitful above all things. So you think, you know, you got everything that you need, all right? But, you know, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai corrects us all day long, showing us exactly what it is that we need. You know, being guided in the Spirit, being guided in the faith through the Holy Spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai in the scriptures. Okay? So it says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, that give it to all men liberally, right? All you Israelite men that are seeking diligently, okay, and wanting to understand this truth and have a sincerity in your spirit. You know, you got to pray for Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai so that he builds you up in this faith. You know, meaning your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, okay, in this truth, which is the reason why I'm able to even do this video. You know, maybe a couple years back, catching all that hell that I was going through, and even now, you know, I had to build a certain level of patience to be able to bring this to you, having certain experiences, you know. And I'm sure that the apostles and the elders, without a doubt, man, through all the hell that they have gone through the years, understand this topic better than anybody, okay? Just like we have Job to our example, just like we have Yahweh Shai definitely to our example, and he caught all kinds of hell up into his death and during his death, man. So that's something to diligently consider. And Yahweh Shai has been given the power over heaven and earth, but, you know, he submitted himself to the will of Yahweh, you know, his Father in heaven, to suffer all of that, you know, so that we could be adopted back as sons, man. So so we got to be in like manner, prepare ourselves to suffer, similar things or the same things, because brothers might have to suffer death. All right, this is why you got to let patience have her perfect worth, so you can remain or have your integrity remain when being put under such pressures, man, such sufferings. Yahushua went through all that hell, man. His beard being plucked up, getting buffeted, being struck across the face, being spit on, being given vinegar to drink, having spears stabbed into his sides, being hung upon a cross, a crown of thorns being put on his head, being beaten to death. Okay? And through all that he suffered, okay, he patiently suffered for a purpose. And we patiently suffer for our own purpose, man, which is to fulfill the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai in righteousness. We have Paul as an example. So the prophets, the disciples, the apostles, the Lord Yahushai, okay, none of them are what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, they all had to suffer, so therefore we have to suffer as well. All right? Even Yahweh demonstrates patience, man. Okay? Pursuing the Nahum 1 and 3. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, Yahweh, he's bound by his word. Because the Lord has indignation. He has righteous anger. He's justified in everything he does. But he set it up to where there were certain prophecies that needed to take place. And when he saw fit, then he would command Yahushai, who is actually waiting on that command, because he don't know the hour of the day either. He's waiting on the command patiently from his father Yahweh to tell him to come back to destroy this place and to deliver his elect, the elect of the nation of Israel, which you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, each of us to our perspective tribe, or respective tribe rather, Salaki, says the Lord, this is Nahum 1 and 3, the Lord is slow to anger. Why is the Lord slow to anger? Because he demonstrates patience. Even he's suffering because he wants to destroy this place. Think about how much we want this place to go. But how much more does Yahweh, man, the creator of everything before us, okay, the masculine, okay, because Yahweh is a masculine, the ultimate form of masculinity is Yahweh, Yahushai, okay? Imagine how much more angry he is. It says, and great in power and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Okay, so the Lord is slow to anger. So he suffers individuals for a particular time before they rightfully deserve destruction. Okay, so reading, getting back to the, I believe it was in James. And I didn't want to make this lesson too long, but and I'm just going in the spirit. So this is James 1 and 5 again. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of the Most High, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Right? So we're supposed to pray for more wisdom, man, especially in areas where we lack. So this is Hebrews chapter 12, and I'm going to start about 5. So this is Hebrews 12 and 5. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord. And the thing is all this hell that we catch, okay, and all the trials that we may suffer is really chastisement of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. It says, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Man, and that's the truth. Some of us need constant rebuke, man. Not that because we're wicked, but just because, we're hard-headed, man. Still under them curses. Some of us are slow to learning too. So sometimes the Most High needs to light a fire on our ass to give us more of a driven, inspired spirit to do things, man. So we don't get taken by that, you know, slothfulness, you know, which is, by the way, wicked, you know. But some of us just have a tendency to get things a lot slower. So sometimes the Most High just has to put fire underneath us so we can make a change, you know. At least strive, you know. So sometimes I understand how slow I get things, you know. So I have to do things over and over and over again till I get it right in a lot of cases, man. Especially with studying, man. You know. That's why it's important to pray, you know. Pray for a longer attention span. Pray for, you know, a better short-term and long-term memory. Along with taking herbs, man. Because we're under them curses, man. Even the environment, you know, Esau has polluted the earth. There's all kinds of distractions, and, you know, Esau got his science of frequency trying to, you know, infiltrate our minds and mess with our central nervous systems and all that, man. So we really need to be praying Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to be protected from all that shit. But anyways, the point is we go through hell to be made perfect, okay? It says, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him, and rebuke can come in the form of the apostles and elders too. Spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is working with those men. So if they get on you and start rebuking your ass for something you're not doing or something you need to do, that's also a form of rebuke of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Then you have actual things going on in your daily life that come in a form of chastisement, you know, which are things that we just need to suffer. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteth and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. So if he's considering us a son, he's going to put us through that hell. Okay? And hey, let me tell you, man, in the short while I've been in this truth, I have had some major experiences with suffering. And I'm not going to get into details, but, you know, the Most High can strike you very hard, man. But the point is not to faint, not to lose patience, okay? Not to get angry to the point where you're looking to, you know, fulfill that burning within inside of you, you know. You got to just suffer it. Like Yahweh Shai had to suffer it. You just got to suffer it, man. Like Job couldn't take anything back and he lost all that he lost. He just had to suffer it. You just got to suffer it. We have comfort. Brothers act like they don't got comfort, man. Shit, sometimes you get so mad you forget that. And then the Spirit enters into you, and then you start asking yourself, like, yeah, damn, why the hell am I getting so upset? Kingdom of the Lord getting ready to be established. This damn devil getting ready to be put in slavery. These wicked-ass 2/3 are getting ready to be put down. These women are getting ready to be put down and be put back in order. The earth itself is going to be restored. Isn't that the glory? Isn't that something that outweighs all the suffering? The amount of blessings the Lord's going to bestow upon us? Don't that outweigh the suffering? Of course it does. And in the moment it don't seem so, but that's why you got to have this mentality of we're going to suffer and that it's needed. Because indeed it is needed. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, the Most High deal with you as with sons. Okay? For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? Yeah, the Most High ain't going to chastise you. Okay? If you're not going through anything, man, the Most High don't love you. You got everything all perfect. Everything's all laid out. You know? You don't never catching any hell. You always wear a fucking smile on your face. You're at ease in your mind. You know, all the time. Without a care in the world. You know, the Most High is not dealing with you. Most High ain't dealing with an individual like that. Basically, in this fucking you're so happy spirit. You know, it ain't everything's all fucking perfect. Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, right? You got Israelites that claim to be Israelites out here acting like the Most High done gave them the kingdom already, man. We ain't in the kingdom. So anyways, without ranting too much, it says, if ye endure chastening, the Most High deal with you, and as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards, meaning you're fatherless, man. Meaning you don't have Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, okay, to you. That's not your head, man. And the Most High don't give a shit about you. And not sons. You know, you don't care about the Most High. The Most High don't give a shit about you either. Okay, even more so. It says, furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, right? There you go. Which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Yeah, man. To shame one, to be ashamed, reverence a person, to turn about. In a good sense, to respect. Okay? Okay, meaning to have fear. Okay? Shall we not much rather be in subjection? Okay, to submit, to be underneath the will of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, unto the Father of spirits, and live? Yeah, most of you Jakes, although you act like you're alive, you're really dead, man. You're dead in the spirit, and the Most High gonna get rid of you, man. Most High ain't gonna suffer you that much longer if you in this mindset that, you know, that the kingdom of heaven is basically established in Esau's kingdom type mentality. You know? And you literally got Jakes that think like that, man. You know, they got their woman, they're all married to her, you know, and all this shit. Which if you got a woman and she's, you know, in league with you, and orderly, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, you have examples like the IUIC, man. Fucking marrying men in the camp and all that shit. Come on, we're not in that time period to be given into marriage. The scriptures even speak on that. Constantly being drunk with wine and in this merry fucking spirit. Isn't it better to go into the house of mourning? Always, oh man, Jake is just bugged, man. It makes you mad because it just makes you mad. Okay, I'm not gonna rant. It says, shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? And that's the truth, man. That's the truth. We're gonna live. The Most High gonna, if we suffer all this, the Most High gonna make us a praise and a name and a fame in the earth. The Lord gonna give us power, man. The Lord gonna give us what our worth is and whatever we're willing to suffer. The Most High is going to extend his mercy onto us and deliver us from the same too, man. And that's the point. You know, the Most High puts this suffering upon us, you know, so that we receive correction, but he also delivers us from the same. Okay, because he wants us to be in submission to him. He wants us to call out to his heavenly name, Yahweh Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. He wants that. He's a jealous power. Okay? So for they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit. Everything I was saying, man, this is really for our own gain in the spirit. To be real men, okay? And to know how to suffer and what it is to suffer, to build character in this truth and to build strength. To be entire and whole, wanting nothing, right? We might be partakers of his holiness. Didn't I just say he was going to make us a praise and a name in the earth? His holiness is going to be revealed in the day of that destruction, man. When the chariots come back. And we're going to partake in that salvation, Lord willing, if we're the elect and willing to suffer. Even if we have to suffer death, man. That's 1 Thessalonians 4:16. If we die remaining in this truth, you know, meaning our integrity rather, you know, we don't give up the faith at the last second to, you know, to take the chip, you know, to try to make a name for ourselves in this kingdom. And Esau, the damn devil, or whatever the case may be, where we get put to death while in the faith of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, then we're going to be the first ones risen up. And then there's going to be those that are alive and remain, you know, which are going to be the elect that endure until the end and that are going to be beamed up into the chariots. And all the earth is going to witness that, man. All the earth is going to witness the hopeful elect. Lord willing, I'm a part of that, and you brothers listening are a part of that, being beamed up into them chariots, man. And being changed, receiving an incorruptible body, receiving a spiritual body, which is a beautiful thing, man. That's part of the holiness. Entering into the kingdom. Now, no chastening for the present. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. And that's true. Hey, you're going to be mad. Okay? You're going to have tears in your eyes at times. You're going to have a low spirit. All right? You're going to be changed into a lower state, okay, throughout this truth. But it's to build character. It says, grievous. Nevertheless, afterward, if ye yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Or slacken. Nevertheless, afterward, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness, right? Because it builds you up. Okay? That's what you reap from this, is it builds you up. It gives you the things that you need to be a man in this truth, and a true man of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, man. And a sound mind, right? That's the way. That's the reason why I'm even able to do this lesson, because I've been built up in patience, and I pray that I continue to be built up in patience and continue to be built up in strength, so that I can endure until the end to be worthy to receive that salvation unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out the way, but it rather be healed, or but let it rather be healed. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted out of that. Let me see. I'm just gonna get a couple more precepts. This is 1 Peter's chapter 4 and 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. And like I was mentioning earlier, you brothers got to prepare yourself, okay, for the different trials that the Most High may bring upon you. You know, it's to build your strength. It's to build character. We just read that in Hebrews, the 5th chapter, man. Okay, though, you know, it's grievous, it's really so you can reap the benefits of suffering. Okay, to make you more worthy in the sight of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So it says, and so I'm just giving you the warning now, so that when you do start catching that hell, man, you know exactly what it's all about. You know, you're not lose patience, rather lose faith, and then leave. You know, and if you do that, then you weren't built for this thing. And that's the thing. Not every individual that comes into this truth was made for this truth. Was made to suffer, man. That's a mentality, and not everybody has the strength to maintain that mentality. Okay, it's more easy for you to become complacent and take the easy way out rather than the hard way, man. Right? Straight, you gotta take that straight gate, man, which is the position of difficulty. Broad, okay, and wide is the way that leadeth to destruction. Okay. Matter of fact, that's another good precept, you know. So we're not trying to take the broad or wide way. Okay, we're trying to go through that straight gate, the narrow way, man, the more difficult way, which is through Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, which is not hard at all, actually. When you think about it, when you've been given that spirit of patience and you have that mentality, it's not hard, you know. But most men don't have the capacity to accept that cross that they have to go through. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Yahweh Shai's sufferings. And that's it. We are partakers of Yahweh Shai's sufferings. Okay? That when his glory shall be revealed, and I told you when Yahweh Shai returns with them chariots, right? Ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. Yeah, man. Because when we see that, we know that our salvation, okay, is upon us. And that the destruction is also upon those that have done wickedly. And so that's the point I wanted out of that. So, and that's the joy, man. And the joy of this truth outweighs all the sufferings that we go through. Let me see. Gonna get this scripture because I believe I may have loosely quoted it, and the Spirit wants me to get it anyway. So this is Ecclesiasticus. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and 1. This is in the Apocrypha, or the book of Sirach, 2 and 1. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." So yeah, when we come into this truth and continuing this truth, okay, we need to prepare ourselves to the different situations the Most High is going to put us through to test us, to make us stronger. "Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make no haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire," and that's what this is, man. We're basically being made more precious and being refined, okay? As the scriptures say, a fire. These trials we go through is in comparison to when you put fire, okay, to gold, to purify it and to make it what? More precious. So the Most High is doing the same thing to us, man. "For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men." See, this is just an acceptable mentality we need to have, man. An acceptable thing that we need to go through in order to be made perfect. All right. So people, don't boast yourself in your sufferings neither, man. Men, hey, never boast yourself to another brother about all the shit that you're going through, man, because you don't know what it is that they going through, what ailments they have. We all get tried on different levels, man. Each is to his own. What may be easy for some might not be as easy for others, But nevertheless, it says, "Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him." Right? The Lord will always deliver us, so as long as we trust in him and take cheerfully this trial, man, that we got to go through. And be faithful. Remain loyal. If you remain loyal, the Most High will far exceed your expectations every time. He'll be that much more loyal to you, man. "Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy." So that's what we're waiting for. That's why we're suffering all the day long, is for his mercy, man. Fuck Esau. Fuck what this kingdom can offer us. Okay, fuck instant gratification. I'd rather wait for the kingdom. "And not go aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear the Lord, believe on him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy." And so I'm going to end it there. I hope you brothers were edified. If there's any brother going through any particular hell right now, don't lose faith. Just continue to pray, fast. As a matter of fact, I do actually want to bring out one more preset before I end the show. Lord willing, if I can find it, let me just go through, because I had a lot of scriptures written down. I believe it's maybe let me try to look it up. Slack you for the delay. Okay, so it's okay, here it is. Romans 12 and 12. All right, Salaki. Just because, I said, it's important to pray, and that's the thing. Anytime I find myself really going through something difficult, I just immediately pray, man. I'm pretty much pray at every second of every day, at this point, and that's what you need to do. And every time I'm praying, the Most High just fills me with constant joy, man. Like, hey, the Spirit just speaks to me, And the thing of it is I mainly be, looking at the apostles as the examples all the time, man, and just imagining the things that they've been through. And here it is, they're so fervent in their spirit, up until this day. And it's just a beautiful thing, man. So I'm gonna leave y'all with this before I end. This is Romans 12:12, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Okay, so with that, again, I say, I hope you brothers been edified, and I say, Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to you, sincere Akim, holding fast to faith and being occupied in prophecy. Shalom.